On January 18th of 2009, I began doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. About a month after I started, there was another dude who joined who became a friend of mine. Now, whenever I'm fighting, training or wrestling, any kind of capacity like that, I don't have glasses on, which means that I am basically blind. My eyes are horrible. I have monocular vision, which means that my eyes I can only see out of one at a time. The reason that happened is because when I was 3 years old, I crossed them for too long and they actually got stuck. This is literally what my eyes are positioned to be like. I hold them straight. So whenever I don't have the glasses on, if I cross my eyes, it lets me see just a little bit, but still not very clearly. So as I'm training with this guy, about 2 months after I started, about 1 month after he started, I look over to the side, and in the area that you would see like the parents and the siblings or whatever, whoever's watching the practice session, I looked over there and I saw this beautiful girl, just ridiculously beautiful girl that was looking at either me or the guy I was fighting. I couldn't tell because I was blind. Later, I found out that that's his older sister. Time passes, and she starts doing jiu-jitsu as well. So as I'm already becoming friends with him, I also start becoming friends with her. 2 years pass, I'm 15 years old, and I start dating her. I was 15, she was 18, so it couldn't really do too much. Plus, we kind of kept things secretive because we never wanted her brother to assume I was using him to get to her, any kind of stupid nonsense like that. He was like one of my best and one of my only friends at the time. It was just a weird coincidence that she was related to him. And so with this girl, I just absolutely became head over heels madly in love. Prior to meeting her, I was just chronically depressed as a kid. I was very unhappy. When I was 9 years old was the very first time I can actually look back and remember trying to figure out how to unalive myself. I just was horribly depressed my entire life. There was no relief from that. It was just horrible and awful. But with her was the first time in my entire life that I've ever actually experienced happiness. I've ever actually experienced a peace in my life was with her. I trusted her to the point of idolatry. And that was a major downfall for me. Because when you trust one person more than anything else in this world, and then that person ends up lying to you, that will absolutely shatter your view of reality. And that is exactly what happened with me. On December 23rd of 2011, things ended between me and her. Now I should back this up just a little bit. See, I started to have premonitory dreams and they creeped me out a lot. So I had a dream that her and I would get together. And that dream came true exactly how I dreamt it. And that was absolutely terrifying. Time passed, I have a few other dreams that happen, they come true, and it's getting really weird and uncomfortable for me. But then 1 week, exactly 7 days before things ended between me and her, I had a dream that she was going to end it. Every day in that week, things were just getting more and more distant, a little bit awkward, a little bit uncomfortable, but prior to that, there was no sign of this possibly happening. And so finally, December 23rd, 2011, I asked her, "Are you happy?" And she responded saying, "I don't know." And in my position at that time, that was like the hardest punch to the stomach I've ever felt. Things ended. That night was my first sleepless night where I developed a really horrible case of insomnia. I developed a night terror disorder that started that night where I dreamt the exact same dream every single night for the next year and a half without fail. Now, the really scary part about that is whenever you have dreams that are coming true and then you have this monstrous dream that repeats every single night, I was constantly in this panicking fear that that horrible dream was going to come true as well, which is what made it a night terror disorder. It wasn't just having nightmares, but it was this inescapable feeling that those dreams were also going to turn into reality. Shortly after this, I found out that she had lied to me about multiple different things, and that completely and totally shattered my sense of what's real. I thought if what she said wasn't real, then absolutely nothing was. I wasn't real, the world isn't real, and God definitely isn't real. And see, I was raised in a Christian household, but I was never a Christian as a kid. Like, I was taught that Jesus is real and God is real, just like Santa and the Easter Bunny. But then you learn that Santa, Easter Bunny, those are lies. And so your brain kind of connects the two as a kid, and you're just like, oh, it's all fake. And then this happens to you where you start getting 2 to 4 hours of sleep every single night during this night terror disorder developing, while your sense of reality is already being played with, and you end up developing a horrible dissociative disorder where you don't think anything's real and you want everything to go away. So for the next year and a half, I was contemplating every single day. More than that, though, during this time frame, I absolutely hated the concept of God, because I kept thinking, like, if God were real, why would he allow this to happen? Why would such an evil creature let this happen to me? So this began a little journey of mine where I started doing everything possible to try to disprove God. I tried to prove that God did not exist. I started with different religions that were just very easy to prove them false, like Hinduism, Buddhism, Islam, Catholicism, the Jehovah's Witnesses, Mormons. All of them have internal conflicts, or they claim, like, here's one book that we believe and here's another one. So they always have these issues that just proves it to be false and inconsistent and definitively not from God. But then I thought, okay, most of those religions, if not all of those religions, always point to one singular figure, which is Jesus, which is weird. They all have a different version of Jesus, but it still points to the same guy. So I thought, okay, if I could disprove that, then that means I can disprove all of them. So I set out to prove that the Bible was fake. I started looking into it with the exact same standards that I held for the other religions, where I was just trying to find internal inconsistencies, contradictions, fallacies, scientific inaccuracies, anything like that that I could actually put together to show, like, hey, if one single part of this book, if one single thing is objectively false, all of it is wrong, because God, if he's real, he cannot be wrong, which means all of this has to be perfectly consistent, and it has to be correct, it has to be historically accurate, it all has to be true. And so I went looking for everything wrong with the Bible. There was nothing. There was literally nothing, not a single contradiction, not a single word that was wrong, because every time that I found these contradictions, I went, ah, I got it. And then I'd go digging into it, find the context. I'd go back and check the original languages. I'd check the Hebrew, the Greek. I'd go looking deep into it, and then I'd go, oh, that's not actually a contradiction. I am just stupid and bad at reading. So then I'd go to the next one, and the next one, and the next one. And the only things I could ever find that you could even consider to be contradictions are translational inaccuracies. So like in John chapter 7, there's a scene where Jesus is sitting down with his biological brothers, and they're saying, hey, we're going to go up to this festival, come with us. And Jesus says, no, I'm not going. And then later Jesus goes, and I went, aha, Jesus just lied. God can't lie, Jesus just lied. That's it, that's perfect. And then I checked the original language. What's actually happening there is they're saying, hey, come with us to this festival. And Jesus says, I'm not going yet, go without me. And then later he goes, because he said, I'm not going yet. So I was like, okay, so that's not actually a lie. That's not a contradiction at all. There were several of these cases, like dozens of these, where I thought, like, I have it, it's right there. And then it's not at all there. So then I started realizing that I was seeing this number. It was 118. It was 118. And I saw it everywhere. I started fighting January 18th of 2009. I told you that. 1189. There I met this girl. Her birthday was January 18th. Her brother introduced me to a rapper named Tech9, whose birthday is November 8th. That's 118. Ironically, yesterday was 8/11, August 11th, which is the birthday of one of Tech9's daughters. I went scrolling around Facebook and I found this Bible verse that was Psalm 118, verse 8. And that verse floored me for a couple reasons, primarily because of its actual content. That verse specifically says it is better to trust in the Lord than to trust in humans. And after my entire life got distorted from trusting in a person, that really hit me hard. But then I found out a couple weird things. The Bible is 66 books, is exactly 1,189 chapters. That's 1189. If you go to the very middle of the Bible, chapter by chapter, all the way to the center, you will be at Psalm 118. Shortest chapter in all of the Bible is Psalm 117, and the longest is Psalm 119. If you go verse by verse to the very center of the Bible from both ends, you will arrive at Psalm 118, verse 8, which is that verse that God led me to, telling me to only trust him. At that point, I started reading the Bible differently because I accepted this is absolutely true. I need to accept that there is actually truth in this world. There is a reality that is bigger than what my brain can perceive. Jesus in John 14:6 says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one can come to the Father but through me. In John 17:17, Jesus says, sanctify them by your word. Your word is truth. In John 1:1, it says, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God." So the Word is God, the Word is truth, Jesus is the Word, Jesus is truth, God is truth.